Magandang gabi mga kaibigan, kababayan at mga kapatid. Diwan po tayo ng 2021. So, nararapat lamang na batiin natin ang ating mga tagapakinig ng isang maligayang at manigong bagong taon. Alam po natin ang 2020 ay naging punong-puno ng problema. Tulad po ng COVID-19 na hanggang ngayon ay hindi pa rin nagtatapos. Pagputok ng Taal Volcano, mga kalamidad po ng mga bagyo na nagdulot ng baha sa ating sa iba't ibang lugar ng Pilipinas. Ganon din po dahil sa mga lockdowns, marami pong mga pabrika ang nagsarado, marami pong nawalan ng trabaho. Gayon pa man, nagpapasalamat po tayo sa Poong May Kapal sapagkat kahit papano nairaos din po natin. Sa 2021 po, alam natin na hindi rin magiging madali sa atin ang taong ito. Lalo na po na mayroong banta ng panibagong new variant of COVID na sinasabi natin, mutant, which is about 70% transmissible compared to COVID-19. Anyway, be that as it may, kailangan din po tayong umasa for a better life than that of 2020. Kapit lang po tayo mga kababayan, kaibigan at mga kapatid. Sabi nga ng kasabihan, sa itaas ng ulap naroon ang araw na laging sumisikat. At pagkatapos po ng gabi, mayroong araw na darating sa ating buhay. Ang mahalaga po, kapit po tayo, magtiwala po tayo sa ating sarili, sa ating Panginoon na laging sumusubaybay po sa atin. Yan po ang mahalaga. So muli ang ating pagbati ng isang manigong bagong taon. Mga kababayan, mga kapatid at mga kaibigan, ang 2021 po would be very different year politically. Bakit po? Sapagkat ito po this would be the year for preparation for the mid-election in 2022 presidential election po. So, ang termino po ng ating Pangulo ay magtatapos po ng June 30, 2022 at noon time. So, ang election naman po ay May 2022. So, 2021 would be preparations, alignment of political forces. Whether we like it or not, darating po yan. Kaya mas maganda po na mas maaga din mabigyan natin ng paghahanda kung sino po ang ating ipapalit sa ating mahal na Pangulo. Kung babalikan po natin ang kasaysayan ng 2016 election, President Duterte was not among the promising presidential. Ilan lang po marahil ang nag-isip noon na humikayat sa ating Pangulo na tumakbo bilang presidente At the time, the President Duterte was then mayor of Davao City. Ano po ang naging basihan ng mga humikayat sa kanya na tumakbo bilang Pangulo? Yung kanya pong performance sa Davao City. When Davao at the time, and perhaps even now, kilala po na malinis, disiplinado ang mga mamamayan, at maayos ang pamamahala. Hindi napapabalita yung korupsyon. Kaya ito ang the reflection of Davao, or rather the picture of Davao City, became the basis for few Filipinos to encourage or even to ask the President to run for the position, which even at the time President Duterte himself did not accede. However, because of the insistence, later President Duterte acceded. Now, his campaign promises was that he would use his iron hands to eliminate corruption in the government and the illegal drugs, which has been known to be prevalent nationwide. Ang sabi po ng ating Pangulo, gagamitin niya ang kamay na bakal. Directly, sabi niya, papatayin ko ang mga posers, yung mga corrupt sa government. And because of that, because of those promises to use the iron hands in his management as president, he was voted as such, specifically by the youth sector of the voting populace. He won over his rivals. And what is very noticeable here is the fact that Duterte at the time had no political machinery. He had no sufficient financial support to run as presidential. He was not that exposed in terms of material campaigns. Ang mga tao po ang nag-provide. I remember even that my brother, nagpagawa siya ng isang buong plywood at pinagawa niya ng billboard for Duterte. Admittedly, I did not vote for him because I didn't believe the iron hand to manage the country like the impression of the Davao City. Sabi ko, hindi pwede yan. So I did not vote for him. But he won. Overwhelmingly. Alam po natin yan. With more than 16 million. Even 5 million higher than his next rival, si Rojas. So, ano po ang implication? Ang mga tao, ibinuto po siya for that mere campaign promises. And in fact, it's what he has been doing. Although hindi natapos ng 6 months, sapagkat doon lang natin natuklasan na napaka-grabe pala ang problema sa droga. That it penetrated the high level in the government. Mga PNP generals, mayors, gobernador, even cabinet secretaries were involved. So malala. But then, he did what he promised. At hindi po nakapagtataka na even until now, it's more than, it's about 5 years in office, still, he gets the highest trust rating. Maraming nagtitiwala, hindi nababawasan, sa halip na dadagdagan yung tiwala sa kanya ng sambayanan. Despite this much campaign ng kanyang mga kalaban. Alam po natin yan. So ano po ang what would be the significance of this? Well, we know that even now there are still groups working hard for his ouster. But definitely they have not succeeded, and they will not succeed. So, ang question po dito, matatapos ba ni Pangulong Duterte na linisin ang pamahalaan from graft and corrupt practices, as well as could the drug problems be uprooted by 2022 at the end of his term? Definitely not. Hindi po matatapos yan. Mayroon pong maiiwan na problema pa rin sa droga. Although it may be at the most minimal level. In the same way that corruption would still be there. Although definitely mababawasan yan. The problem is, after 2022, pwede pong bumalik ang lahat ng mga nalinis na tanggal ni Pangulong Duterte. Pwede pong magbalikan. Even more than double, triple, or quadruple. Considering the hardship of life, mas marami pong babalik sa mga poser. At itong mga street posers, mga maliliit na walang paraan para kumita, dito na naman po sila mag-i-involve. In the same way na ganun din po yung corruption sa government. That is very, very sure. Mas after 2022, wala na po si Pangulong Duterte sa Malacanang. Magbabalikan po yan ng doble o higit pa. Yung korupsyon sa gobyerno, yung droga. So, paano po natin? How to prevent these anomalous practices? after 2022, the term of President Duterte. The only way to avoid such anomalous situation is to elect a president that would continue the legacy of President Duterte. Ipagpatuloy niya po ang sinimulan ni Pangulong Duterte. So, 2022, ipagpapatuloy. 2028, ang dapat ang manungkulan ay yung pa rin magpapatuloy. But along the way, we should institute institutional reforms. Nang sa ganun po, maging bahagi ng kultura ang mga pagbabago na ito na sinimulan ni Pangulong Duterte. So that after 20 years, 50 years, hindi na po bumalik sapagkat na-institutionalize na po ang mga pagbabagong ito. Ito po ang dapat natin gawin. Kaya po napipilitan tayong pag-usapan ito na ganito kaaga nang sa ganon atin pong mapaghandaan. We need a president by 2022 who would surely continue the legacy of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Kailangan po isang Pangulo na magpapatuloy sa sinimulan ni Presidente Duterte ngayon. At isa rin pong Vice Presidente who could effectively help the President to institutionalize the reforms to be continued as a matter of legacy of President Digong. Ito po ang dapat nating isipin sa mga kababayan. This is time to start thinking who should be the president that we have to work hard for to ensure the continuity of what President Digong has started. There are many aspirants, as we all know. Usually, the so-called trapos or the traditional politicians. Among them, we do not see anyone, for instance, Grispo, Leni Robredo, perhaps Bongbong Marcos, Pacquiao, Gordon, Lacson, I don't know with Pangilinan, or Drilon. But definitely these people could not be the one for the purpose. Because these people, as they have been in public office, kilala na po natin yung kanilang mga naging performances. What we need is yung honest to goodness to serve na mayroon si Digong, plus the courage, the candidness, ito po yung kailangan natin. Isang tao na malakas, very strong ang paninindigan. Hindi kayang diktahan. Matalino, dapat magaling. Sapagkat kung hindi yan magaling, kaya po yang mamanipulate ng kanyang mga advisors. Magaling nga pero walang tapang, hindi rin po magiging aggressive yan. Magdidili-dali yan to solve the problem. So kailangan magkasama po yan. Talino, tapang, at yung katapatan sa serbisyo. Ito po ang mga characteristics na mayroon si Digong. At dapat po ang papalit sa kanya, mayroon ding the same characteristics. Sa ngayon po, sa mga presidential, ang nakikita po natin dito, yung kanyang anak, yung kasalukuyang mayor ng Davao City, si Sara Duterte. Bakit po? Ano po ang pinagbabasihan natin? The question is, ipagpapatuloy ba niya ang legacy na sinimulan ng kanyang ama? Most probably. Hindi po niya bibiguin ang kanyang ama. Kung anong sinimulan ng kanyang ama, ipagpapatuloy po niya. There is no doubt to that. Pangalawa po, magaling ba siya? Matalino ba? Well, she's a lawyer. And we will look at her compared to other personalities. We are sure she has the talent, the capacity to manage the country. Meron po. We do not personally know her. But based on what we saw in many public appearances as reported by the media, nakikita po natin yun. She has that capacity to manage the country, especially in this time of hardship. Meron ba siyang tapang para gawin yan? Definitely. She could even, because of being young compared to her father, she could do even more what her father did because of the vigor of a young blood. She could do, definitely. Naalala nga po natin minsan ng mayor, I don't know how maybe it could have been 7 years ago or 10 years perhaps, when she was a mayor in Davao that time still, and may dinimolish ng mga squatters na according to reports, tinawagan niya ang sheriff. Sabi niya, sheriff, hintayin mo ako. Usap muna tayo bago mo ituloy yung demolition. Umuo naman daw ang sheriff. But then, pagdating niya sa area, giba na yung mga bahay. Without a word, tinawag yung sheriff, sinuntok. Well, of course, sabi ng iba, mali yun sapagkat the sheriff was there to implement the order of the gods. Yes. Pero may usapan sila. umuo siya. At pagdating niya nag-iba ng mga bahay, bigla niya sinuntok ang sheriff. What was the implication of that action? Although marami na-criticize doon because sabi nga nila masyadong the sheriff was there to implement the order of the judge as the symbol of justice. Pero anong nakita natin doon? Una, yung tapang niya. Because no one, especially a woman, could do that. Walang gagawa noon. Hindi mo basta susuntukin ang sheriff. Especially si sa lawyer. Alam niya kung anong posisyon ng sheriff. Ano ang tungkulin ng sheriff. And at the same time, alam din niya, being the mayor, kung anong tungkulin niya towards the people. Kaya nga, pinakikiusap niya, pag-usapan muna. So makita mo yung genuine concern over the people subject of demolitions. Naroon yung kanyang genuine concern na kung pwedeng magawa ng paraan na huwag namang ganun ka-harsh on the eyes of before the eyes of the people there. Pag-usapan muna. At umuo din naman ang sheriff. Ang masama, sinabi ng sheriff sorry mayor, this is an order and I have to do it. Pagdating, sinuntok na. Medyo foul yun kasi wala silang prior agreement to that effect. Pero umuo. So makita mo doon yung genuine concern, yung talino niya, how she would judge the situation given that those circumstances. So ito po ang sinasabi natin na karapat-dapat na pumalit sa kanyang ama bilang Pangulo ng Bansa. And we encourage, sana makarating po. Sa bagay, alam naman natin, marami na pong nagsasabi sa kanya. But ito po ang dahilan kung bakit sinasabi natin na dapat si Sara Duterte for President by 2022. Hindi po hindi lang po ito matter of paghanga, pagsisip-sip or whatever. It is a matter of telling, paliwanag, explaining to the Filipino people why she ought to be. Ngayon po, pagdating naman sa vice presidential, siyempre po, ang mga aspirante dyan, hindi yung mga presidential din na hindi lang mapipili. Marami po, for vice presidential, itong mga hindi pa pang presidente, pwede po munang pang presidential po. Si Manny Pacquiao po is very promising. May pera, mabait, galing sa masa. Kung mayroong mang negative kay Manny Pacquiao as Vice President, maybe sa iba negative yun, but to us, it is not actually. The only negative is the fact that he is also from Mindanao, sa Jinsan. Sara is from Davao, Pacquiao is from Jinsan, both coming from Mindanao. So it may not be that attractive. Kailangan ang kapartner, lagi sinasabi, yung geographical proportion, geographical sharing of voters. Ito yung balancing of the electoral distribution, voting distribution. So, as a substitute, kung sakaling hindi makonsider si Manny Pacquiao, definitely Bongbong Marcos would be the perfect tandem kung magkakasundo po sila as Vice President. Bongbong Marcos could be because Marcos is from Luzon, and personally strong din ito si Marcos, very promising ang personalidad. So ito po yung nakikita nating prospective tandem, and we of course our choice is for president, nobody else but Sara Duterte. When it comes to vice president, Pacquiao or Bongbong Marcos. For the time being, ladies and gentlemen, good night, Happy New Year, and before we end, we request everyone to subscribe our YouTube channel, ang ating paninindigan sa napapanahong isyu ng lipunan. Marami pong salamat. Magandang gabi sa lahat.